Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mural Backstage Pass. I'm Haley Temple. I'm a learning experience lead here at Mural. And Backstage Pass is really a space for you guys to come and learn all about ways to use Mural in real working sessions. So today our guest is going to take us through a real working session, and you guys will even have the opportunity, hopefully, to participate. So whether you're participating or you're just watching, this is a great way to pick up tips and tricks around visual and online collaboration and facilitation. So with that, let me go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to introduce Will. So William Hardaway is the founder and creative director at Will Go, and today we're going to be talking about and working on learning and memory in a remote world. So Will, welcome, and tell us a little bit about what our challenge and focus will be today.
Thank you for having me. So today is, you've been hearing a lot about our experiences in the remote world and how that's impacted learning. And I work at a university, Fresno State. Our claim to fame is the college baseball World Series and Paul George, if y'all are familiar with the university at all. And basically, there I study a lot on learning and memory. And when we went remote, we had a lot of sprints and decision jams about like what would learning look like in a remote world and how will we support students in a remote world. And I honestly think that there's a lot of apprehension about what this remote learning space is like. And so we're going to dive into um, how we can be better stewards of learning in an online space. Of course, interactive things like Mural are great as well, but we're also going to talk at the level of like cognition and how memory works and how the remote world affects that. So the challenge is, how might we engage all of our senses while learning new skills and knowledge in virtual learning environments? And so what we want success to look like today is sharing and learning new learning habits you can apply to your work while learning ways to use Mural in your sessions. So
Love
that's
it.
what we're doing today.
Sweet. Okay. So, what I'll do is, of course, we always invite a couple of you to work with us and explore this topic with us. And that means you'll be on audio, working aloud with us, you'll be on video, and you'll be working in Mural. So, if you are interested in doing that with us and you're in the right space and mindset to do that, please type in all caps yes in the chat. And what we'll do is I'm going to promote you to panelist, and we'll start rocking and rolling from there. I see a couple of you already enthusiastically typing yes, which is wonderful. And if you are just here to watch and learn, don't worry, I will still share the screen and you'll be able to follow along and ask questions in the chat. So, no problem at all. All right, let me see. I'm going to promote people in a moment. And while I'm doing that, Will, if you can take a moment and take us through what's going on here with the learning and memory in a remote world challenge, just kind of what should our participants expect to see today?
Yeah, so what we're going to do, this is a variation of a lightning decision jam, and it's something that I do at the university. What we do is we do this for student recruitment. So instead of us going in and telling students that because what I do is I coordinate a tutoring program at Fresno State. Instead of us going in and telling students like, hey, this tutoring program is amazing, you should go. That's very presumptuous on our part. So what we do is we go in and we ask them like, hey, what are some internal challenges you're having? What are some external challenges you're having in terms of learning at the university? And then once we map out those challenges, they develop solutions to how they can overcome those challenges after I kind of give them a brief session on how like resources on the campus and things they could take advantage of. And then they also give us room for improvement when they, because we ask for not only solutions, we ask for ways the university can improve in helping them learn. And so we're going to do a variation of that today by first telling stories about learning experiences we've had in the past, identifying internal and external challenges that stifle our learning in a remote world, and then reframing our biggest challenges into how might we's. And then we'll discuss one of the some interesting research on learning and memory, and specifically how those things play out in the remote world, because a lot of that has to do with attention and interest. And then we'll design solutions for the biggest challenges. We'll do some effort versus impact. And then we'll have a sharing out of highlights and insights from the session.
All right, that sounds good. All right, jam-packed session. So I've invited our panelists in here. So Linda, Ingmar, Doug, Grant, and Ellen. Hello, welcome. You guys
Hi
have
there.
a visitor's link. Hey, um, a visitor's link in the chat in Zoom, and so you can join the mural. Now, we aren't going to have everybody on the webinar join in this mural. No worries, though. You can still follow along, and you can ask questions in the chat. And I'm basically acting as your advocate, asking questions to the team, to Will. So, yeah, let's rock and roll.
All right. How's everybody doing? How's everybody feeling?
Great.
Okay. So what we'll do first is we will get some stories from y'all. And the way we're going to do that is to have you think of how you specifically connect with learning. And so what I want you to do is take a time where you learn something new, and I want you to make a movie tagline about what the experience was like. And so up here, there are a few of my favorite films. One of them I haven't actually seen yet, and I know you're asking, how can that be your favorite film? I love Christopher Nolan. I love John David Washington. Theaters are closed in my area. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm predicting it will be one of my favorite films. But if you need a template, you can read the taglines on some of these films. And so when you think of your story of a time that you learned something new, I want you to encapsulate it into a tagline like that. And these black Post-its down here, you can double click into. That way we stay on the grid. I like using the grid function in Mural because a lot of times when I facilitate, I could have like 50 people in here, and it helps to keep things in order. And we could always like pull things out or duplicate things and put them in a free space.
Awesome. So I set the timer. I know you said 3 minutes up here. So I
Yeah,
set the timer, and in the meantime, our participants will think of movie titles that relate to the last time they tried to learn something.
yeah. And to give a demonstration, so I remember my dad when I was growing up, he was a mechanic and he worked on a lot of cars, and he would always have me out there kind of showing me how to do things. And I remember a moment where uh, he was, it's when I learned the righty tighty, lefty loosey type thing. He showed me him wrenching something, and then he told me to do it, and I turned it the other way. And he was like, "No, you can't do it that way." And I'm like, "Well, I'm turning it." He's like, "Well, you're loosening it. You need to tighten it." And he told me that idiom of righty tighty, lefty loosey. So my tagline might be something like, in a world where uh, right is left and left is right, something like that. So something fun. We'll talk about it later, but a big part of learning is attention and challenge, and that balance between attention and challenge. And so if you don't have that little bit of tension with what you're learning, then you're probably not going to be that attentive to it. And the more you lose attention, the more you lose retention of material. I see Brave New World. Wow, it's a new day. Stepping into the fall. No, we never knew. Who put stepping into the fog? That's interesting to me.
I did.
What's the story there?
Well, I think that sometimes my learning is it's a new day and I never knew. And sometimes it's like it's like a cloudy future. Sometimes it's not always clear. It like opens up new arenas, but then there's so much more information that I need to know or want to know, or more tools that I ought to have. So, plus, I just thought that sounded like an interesting title, Stepping into the Fog.
You got me with it. For sure, it was interesting. Yeah, a lot of times the reason why we learn things is because we have that feeling of fog and not knowing why me, the matrix.
And I'm asking some people in the audience too. Amara said hers is failing forward.
Mm,
Maureen said that she says she's a part of our learning professionals community, and that part of their job is to help sculpt that fog.
mm.
I love that.
So let's have one more person share out. What about doing the unimaginable? Who shared that one? And what's the story behind that?
That was me, and that was about some gymnastics I learned, and it was something you do on the rings hanging from the ceiling. Yeah, and first I had to get some help from somebody. Then I could do it on my own with a chair underneath, and then now I'm able to do it without. Yeah, so without anything, without support, without help of something. So it's a quite complicated gymnastics practice, so to say.
Okay. Wow, gymnastics. I could not imagine. My daughter, she is 5 years old, and she's been obsessed for the past 2 years with becoming a contortionist. And she is really, really good. Like this morning, she was showing me that in dance class, she learned how to do the splits on the wall. And that physical dexterity, there's that the motor function and learning things like that is very difficult. Um, but there's a lot of interesting neuroscience behind
Yeah,
sports and the
definitely.
physical mental connection. Okay, so I'm gonna have y'all come down and we'll set a timer for 5 minutes. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. So when it comes to learning in a remote environment, and we're gonna get out as many post-its as we can, one thought, one idea per post-it. Um, Identify internal and external challenges that stifle learning remotely. So an internal challenge would be like the content itself or the medium itself. So, what's challenging about learning on a screen, or what's challenging about astrophysics, or whatever you're trying to learn? Like, what are the challenging aspects of those things? And then external is what's drawing you away from actually learning. So, that could be something like, family responsibility. It could be work, working too much, and talking about those types of things that are actually drawing you away from what you should be doing, because that gets into the realm of time management. It gets into the realm of productivity. It gets into the realm of mindset and motivation, which are all big factors when it comes to learning and learning something new, especially. And but yeah, I like to do this breakdown of internal, external, especially at the university, because we're a historically Spanish serving institution, and so a lot of our students they don't have the proper resources at home, or they have a strong sense of family responsibility, like they need to work, they need to care for loved ones. And so sometimes it's the external that's impacting more than the internal, but then they're in combination and they're at odds, right? Because if you're a physics major at the university, that's a very dense major that has a lot of homework and has a lot of there's concepts and assignments that are given that even the professors are not sure what the outcome is going to be. That's how difficult they are. And so those things could be challenging as well. But you could, I know a lot of us we're not in college anymore. You can think about skills that you're trying to learn, a project that you have to complete for work where you're trying to learn something new or getting learning out of that. So throw it down as many of those types of challenges as possible.
Awesome.
Specifically when it comes to remote, I think, we all know what the distractions are. I know my biggest distraction is not only the people that live with me, but also the refrigerator, because I love to eat. And it's super accessible. And I'm just like, all right, should I go get a snack in between meetings? And so, what are those things that are distractors and external barriers?
And we have some people from the audience also adding, so I'm putting them in the mural. So keep sharing the challenges that you guys have experienced. So we have feeling Zoom fatigue, back-to-back sessions, feeling mentally taxed from the lack of change of scenery.
Oh boy, yep. You speaking now.
Lack of ability to do tactile learning, that hands-on experience. Interruptions.
Designing engaging learning experiences, back-to-back sessions. Yeah.
Jay said feeling the vibe of the room. Yeah, being able to respond to people.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was just reading an article about how those cues in a learning space are super important for learning. And in fact, emotion is tied to learning a lot too, because you can remember something, like if you're in a study session with somebody, you can remember an epiphany that a friend had, or remember the moment that everybody lit up. And when you go back to take the exam, you recall that emotion sooner than you recall the information. Like, oh yeah, I remember we were sitting at the table, we all like celebrated that we got it. Oh, it was this. And the neural pathways in the brain, like we remember everything in clusters, and to access a certain cluster, connected to all of our senses, which is, why the challenge with mentioning senses. And, in Zoom, we're limiting some of those senses. And we'll talk about ways where you can kind of get those back, like just by speaking about them, using analogies, and making sure that those analogies are tapped into multiple senses as opposed to just visual.
Awesome.
Okay.
So we have lots of content here. I'm trying to think. Do we have time to kind of cluster these together? I'm trying to understand like the common themes
Yeah,
that
let's
we
see.
see.
If y'all see things that are connected, go ahead and move them together.
Yeah, maybe what I'm thinking is, ooh, okay.
I can't move 'em.
Hello.
This is one of the, what you can do is you can pull them out of the grid. For
Yeah.
the people that are alike, you can pull them out of the grid below.
So let's, for example, say like, okay, tired of looking at the screen all day. If you guys have something similar that you find related to being tired of looking at the screen all day,
And then
let's
I
pull
have
it
fear
down.
down here as well. I know there's a couple related to fear.
Yeah, so it seems like physically tired. I think there's like the mental exhaustion here.
Interruptions. I know there's
Fear.
more interruptions.
Ooh, shoot.
That's okay, Ellen. So what I did was I unlocked the area, but what I'll do is lock it down. So Will did have it locked down earlier and I unlocked it. So that's on me.
I was trying to zoom in and out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that's hard to read the little text.
Something you can do is hold the X key on your keyboard and hover over the sticky notes.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
What?
Yeah. That's a game changer for sure.
Wow, okay.
So, all right, we have, so far we have clusters for fear and not feeling successful. We have ones for physically tired. What other clusters or similar concepts might we have here?
Is mentally taxed, go with the physical tired, or does that go with something else that's related to like the brain?
Yeah, I'm seeing one that, like physical exhaustion and mental exhaustion might be two different things. So let's put, I'm going to make some,
Near the exhaustion category.
Mhm.
yes, if we call this one exhaustion. And this one is fear.
So how, now the X thing doesn't work. So I just hover my cursor over, hit X. Oh, it does work.
If you put your cursor, like the little hand thing, over the item and then take both hands off of the keyboard, that's what we teach people, and then you hit the X. Sometimes it's
Ah,
mind-blowing that it works. It's
okay.
taking your hands off the keyboard that's a challenge because we're so
Right.
excited
Yep.
having them on.
Thank you.
Room.
So people could actually have dueling pulling here, right? Like I could be
You
pulling.
could.
Oh, that's so funny. Tug of war.
What's another one? So I'm starting to see some trends like human connection and interaction is one. What about this balancing work and parenting with learning? Is there anything else that you guys are seeing related to that? Any of these other stickies up here in this area?
I think that's a general distraction thing, right? And the need for scheduling more in advance and carefully.
So this is distraction from learning.
So you're creating a black sticky? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm adding the black stickies as kind of like the name. So Ingmar said like distraction from learning is kind of the theme of what we're seeing in that one.
There's email interruption. There's time distractions.
I see two stickies over here around the inability to see and respond to body language, and then getting comfortable with keeping my video on during meetings. What would we say to describe that? This, what's the theme here?
You know, so with the fear, there's the fear of
Human.
success, but then I feel like there's, I don't know. I feel like all of that could be connected to like an imposter syndrome.
I think the human connection is here. You know, it's that you have black sticky right here. Lack of eye contact, tactile vibe.
You know, I'm not sure the fear that I listed really was a fear of failure. It wasn't really a fear of success. I think sometimes I've gotten so deeply into things, and then I've gotten frustrated, and I'm afraid that I'm not going to be successful with it. And so I decide I'm going to abandon it.
Right.
I'd like to think it was this imposter syndrome, but I'm afraid it's not. It's not that I'm afraid of being successful.
Yeah. I actually find that it's easier for me in face-to-face to get reassurance when I'm with completely new material, just through eye contact or just, you know, sort of a nonverbal plea, you know, in the encouragement of an instructor or someone next to you who doesn't get it either, or, you know, that we're on this journey together and, you know, I've got your back. You don't feel that way so much in remote learning.
Right. Yeah, you know, that, yeah, having somebody to hold you accountable and having that sense of trust. And it's interesting because what happens is the traditional habits that we have in the physical space, like, hey, let's not overwhelm people with messages or like over communicate because we can communicate in like a meeting space or in person. I think that in a digital world, and we'll talk about this in a bit, in a digital world, over communication is key to feeling a sense of trust and communicating in different ways and having spaces that are like, which is why I like apps like Slack or Google Chat or anything where you can create categories, like have a fun channel, have a serious channel, have like a task and project channel to make sure that you're still holding a sense of community. You think we can do some voting now, Haley?
Yeah, yeah. You
We-
tell me.
Do we
Oh,
have
go
a
ahead.
section? I
Mhm.
just, I'm thinking, I don't know if there's bandwidth, but I'm just wondering if the technology is an inhibitor for anyone. And I just saw one. Is there anything else? I didn't mean to take you off course. I'm sorry.
No, go
Like
ahead.
regarding technology, well, I see things like information overload and too much theory. I think those are more content.
I think tired of looking at a screen all day, screen tired. I would probably add eye strain.
Yeah.
Those relate to the mode, the technology mode. And then I had thought I put something down, but I experienced it actually last night that I really couldn't make use of the technology completely, like moving my computer for a chat while I was making dinner, because the bandwidth isn't very good in the kitchen. You know, so that I felt like the technology is a tether.
Right.
And that in terms of studying, you know, or doing the offline activities, that's really annoying, you know, to be so dependent on technology.
Because you had asked for internal and external, and
Mhm.
I'm wondering, as I'm looking at these that are being clustered, a lot of them are internal, it's personal. And I'm also wondering if this particular audience is a little bit more technologically savvy than the general public, or than some of our customers, clients, students. So that's the only reason I mentioned that.
Yeah, that's a great point too. If I imagine Linda and others, you guys have worked with people who are not as technical. Thinking about their needs, like what have some of the challenges been that you've heard from them, or you've seen them like disengage for a certain reason? Has anything come up? Ingmar, for example, I imagine you're working with a lot of students. What has some of the challenges been for your students, maybe if they aren't as tech savvy?
Should I answer right away, Haley?
Yeah, go for it. If you're comfortable, yeah.
Yeah, so what I perceive is really that there's first of all a technical barrier in terms of, okay, one connection doesn't work, so let's work with a different browser, try to open it in a window, download an extension, whatever. Yeah, that is something where okay, this is the link, it doesn't work. Shit, I'm screwed. Yeah, so that is something I perceive. Yeah. And what is an issue for us in university is everything related with data protection. So we are a little limited in terms of what are the tools to be used. Yeah, we are allowed to use or not allowed to use. And we don't have, I don't know how it is with you, but we don't have that standard system. Yeah, so let's say one prefers Cisco WebEx for communication, the other one uses Skype, the next one uses Zoom. Yeah, and the next one uses Big Blue Button. So there's a zoo from tools in terms of trying to get the message across. Yeah, and the tools themselves. The issue with the tools is that they differ in terms of capabilities, in terms of possibilities. Yeah, for example, the whiteboard function in Cisco WebEx is by no means comparable to something we see here, for example. Yeah? So you have to juggle between two tools during the lecture, for example. Yeah, and yeah, these are some of the challenges I perceive. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there's what I'm hearing is, and it sounds like Linda, you typed it in the chat too. It's there's too many technologies to learn and to know how to use, and then there's so many different people at different levels. So a lot of times you're trying to get everyone on the same level to be able to engage in a session.
Yeah,
Is that right?
what I see a lot of times at the university is, you know, there's, from the student standpoint, a lot of students who are returning students to college, they seem to have difficulty with. There's just an overwhelm of different softwares that we use, like which is what Ingmar was talking about, like because you can have softwares that are approved from the university that folks use, and then professors could also choose to use other third-party apps, and so it becomes overwhelming, and everything has its learning curve. And then at the same time, even students who are coming in as freshmen around like 17 or 18 years old, uh, as an institution, I think we make the assumption too often that they're confident with technology, that they know technology better than us. And a lot of times I'll meet students and they're like, sure, I know TikTok, I know Instagram, but like I don't know how to use Excel. Like I don't know how to use, you know, there's a bunch of softwares that are completely different from, you know, the menu push and click stuff that students have trouble with as well.
I think I probably helped just sort of turn the conversation, not uncommon experience for me, from our own experiences to the experiences of students. And my experience working with students at the graduate level is that I've assumed a certain level of sophistication, just like you were saying. And one of the things I discovered is all of them don't have the same level of sophistication. And sharing publicly with one another or in front of that they don't have that sophistication. I think as an older person, I assumed that they had a lot more sophistication. So I think that we can easily make assumptions about what our students or our clients or participants know and take certain things for granted. And that's kind of dangerous, I've found.
And you know, one thing that I do in my business, what I do, because I have about a decade of anti-racism experience and I've been doing design thinking for about 7 years. One activity that I integrate to help with that is called identity mapping. And what we would do, like if we had more time today, we could have mapped out like, you know, what are our many identities, like along the lines of race, gender, ethnicity, but then also along the lines of like, who are we in our work roles and positions, like skill level, that kind of stuff. And you find opportunities and gaps. Opportunities being, hey, we got a lot of representation from the design community here. We could come up with some really cool solutions, but at the same time, we're underrepresented when it comes to current students. So we need to also design for them. And what will happen is, like with the How Might We's, for instance, we push forward those that have a lot of votes, and then we push forward any that don't have a lot of votes, but we're misrepresenting on the team.
That's awesome. And Linda's asking if you can add the identity mapping, and maybe we have to have a future session about identity mapping with our crew, which Will, we definitely talked about as like doing that. And I realize that this is all really great discussion. I know we had generated a lot of different areas and potential challenges to solve. So what do we do next?
Yeah, well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 major categories, and then we have some outliers here. So let's say, and there's 5 of us or 6 of us?
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us.
Okay, let's do 2 votes each, and then we'll vote on. You can either vote on a major category like the Black Post-its, or the outliers up at the top. You can vote for those 2, and then just cast any 2 votes for any of the ideas. If you're voting on the ones on top, make sure they're not your own idea.
So how do we vote? Oh, here we go. Sorry.
Now, and you're gonna click on an area you want to vote on, and then if you want to remove that vote to put it somewhere else, you can double click.
So we're voting on the challenge that we
Yeah,
are most passionate about addressing, or tell me.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to make sure.
The one that you're most passionate about addressing, the one that you connect with as well.
Mhm.
How many votes do we have?
Two votes.
Okay.
And so and for those of you who have not used the voting tool before in Mural, I'm just going to show you an example where if I click on one of these notes, I'll get a little 1 here to say I cast my vote. And then if I want to remove my vote, I hold down the shift key and click again.
Am I supposed to be seeing that? Because I don't see anything.
Nope,
Oh,
you're good.
Okay.
Sorry, Ellen, you focus on, I'm just demoing for the audience. You focus on selecting the black
Oh, okay.
category that you feel most passionate about, exploring a little bit more. Oh, I have 10 votes.
Oh, you have 10 votes alone?
Yeah, it looks like we have 10 votes.
Oh, two. Oh my God. Just vote twice.
It's 10 votes each. Yeah.
We can do it. We can end the voting session and try again
Yeah.
if you want to do 2 votes. Okay, let's end the voting session.
Yeah, let's start it
Redo.
over. Let me start it over.
All right.
Where am I?
So let me, and Will, do you mind if I start the voting session to show
Yeah, go
how
for
you
it.
do it? All right. So I'm a facilitator. I'm going to start a voting session. And now I can limit the number of votes to 2.
So suddenly
Um,
I have overlaid on my screen, since I'm trying to learn how to use Mural right now. I
Yeah.
have overlaid on my screen the session 1 voting results. It's like almost
Yes.
like a scrim over it. Okay. So
No
I should
worries.
get rid of
You
that.
can click,
And
cancel out
yeah,
of
and then
that.
you could just start a new one. And well,
And
Haley's
now,
gonna start a new one.
yep. So I'm going to start a new voting session. So what Mural
Oh,
does,
I see.
So now
Okay.
you'll see again the dialog box that says voting session running.
I get it. Okay.
And
Thank you.
now you only have 2 votes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, you're voting for which one you feel most passionate about exploring and solving. And I can see here how many votes everyone still has left. So I see Ellen has voted, Linda's finished voting. We still have the visiting duck. I don't know who this elusive visiting duck is.
Donald.
There you go. All right, so it looks like, has everyone voted here in our panel?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to end the voting session, and now again, you'll see what the voting results are.
Making human connection as we learn. Distraction from learning. Okay.
Nice. All right, so that's this cluster right here.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So what we can do is let's come up with some how might we's for both of these. So we'll drag this one down.
And I'm going to invite, while you're doing that, Will, I'm going to invite everyone to follow me in the mural so that they're now down at this bottom section.
Okay. So these are very interesting problems, and when we went remote at the university, we had a tutoring center where we had drop-in tutoring, we had appointment-based tutoring, and we facilitated that all through like a central hub that we called the front desk. And so people would come in and you would get to know people, you would build relationships. Students would come in just to study and not to necessarily meet with the tutor, just because it was a great learning environment. There were a lot of whiteboards, there were a lot of tools. And so when we went to virtual, we did run some design sprints around like how do we keep that sense of community. So it'd be interesting to see what y'all come up with. And then after we kind of brainstorm that, I can talk a little bit about what we came up with. But yeah, if you could, I see somebody has one. How might we establish a personal connection with students while working remotely? And then the lack of discipline to get the work done.
Is that specific enough what I wrote, Will, to your opinion?
Yeah, it is, absolutely. Lack of discipline to get the work done. So something like, how might we maintain focus uh, in a time of remote learning, or how might we stay engaged while
You
learning
keep
remotely?
right. You keep progress or maybe that's a different one, monitoring or keep on track, monitor progress, work habits.
David added one. How might we reinvent immediacy without physical presence?
Mm, how might we reinvent music?
And while you guys are adding these how might we statements, I'll keep adding sticky notes in here. Um,
So those of us on Mural, we're supposed to be writing in the purple?
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
No, apologies for, I'll move this down as well. Whoop, it's stuck to my cursor. There we go. While you guys are doing that, Constance asked me, how did I change the size of the canvas so quickly? So you'll see here, if I come to the edge of the canvas, I'll get these arrows to go up and down, and I can move it like this.
Okay, we have a solid 4.
And Will, just to clarify, the how might we's that we're writing, Linda was asking, is it to, we're trying to address the challenges that we stated in the black and blue
Right.
stickies, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I guess, so the power of how might we's is that you're not really providing a solution in the statement or the question. You're more restating it in a more purposeful, action-oriented way where you can actually answer it with a simple answer. So like,
Mm-hmm.
um,
So basically,
how
we're thinking about opening up, like a statement that opens up, like Jay is saying, open up possibilities. Like if we think of something big that we want to solve,
right.
how might we? Oh, go
I
ahead.
always think about how might we as anti-complaints. So like, all the
Positive.
time when we exist in systems, it's natural for us to just complain about certain aspects of what's going on, and how might we just kind of flip any complaint, because complaints are valid. Complaints have a lot of experience that come with them, a lot of bad experiences that come with them, and if you flip them to something actionable, you can actually get things done. Okay. So let's start a voting session, and we'll give each of us 2 votes again, and then that way, because I want y'all to. We haven't talked much about the research and some of the stuff that we've been doing, so I want to give y'all an opportunity to do that.
And so when we're in this voting session now, we've generated lots of how might we statements. And so for those of you guys who are voting, it's having the opportunity to say we want to focus
This session.
the rest of the session thinking about solutions for solving this challenge.
How many votes?
2.
Okay.
2. So looking at the purple sticky notes.
Without descending into chaos.
That one came from David.
Yeah, that is also interesting, because you've been in those workshops or classes where the attempt is there, but it just causes a lot of confusion.
Mhm. All right. So, Will, you have one vote. Our visiting ducks are here. They have one more vote.
Well, I accidentally voted. I mean, I clicked something and it voted on a blank sticky.
Hmm.
And I
But you
can't
can,
unvote it. I tried unvoting it, and I also am trying to click elsewhere.
Did you, so when you say unvote, you held, like to unvote, you hold down the shift key and then click that same note again?
Yeah,
Does that work?
I'm trying to
Or-
demonstrate somebody who's having a problem
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and not afraid to admit that in front
I
of
know.
a group of 75 people.
so you could do the shift click, and then you could also click over the voting
Okay.
number.
I
And
just found that I did do the shift click and then it gave me 2 choices. I've never done that before, so thank you.
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm so unused to double clicking these days that every time I vote, I'm like, okay, I've clicked 4 times.
Hmm.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Linda, oh, voted.
Or
Perfect. Okay.
okay.
All right. Let's see.
Oh, got some ties here. But there might be some groupings. Let's do safe on this one.
How about for the sake of I'm being mindful of time, we have
Yeah.
about 13 minutes. Let's take this, how might we enable engagement and participation without descending into chaos? I love the drama of that one. And we can bring it to our next activity.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? Well,
So you could, let me have y'all follow me real quick. So what we're eventually going to do is kind of what I was describing at the beginning, where we will be giving, we'll be brainstorming solutions for out of the box stuff. So with out of the box stuff, you're thinking about like something you could do tomorrow because the technology exists, the resources are there. Like this is a solution that somebody has already came up with for something. And then suggestions, like these are kind of like new things that are not out there, or things that we have to make custom. I'm just gonna edit something really quick.
so do you have an example of each? So if we're thinking about this context of how might we best enable engagement and participation without becoming chaotic? An example
Right.
solution.
So you know, a good thing there is like when you have a group of people, and going back to the technology thing, right? You know, any piece of technology is going to have a learning curve, and so if you haven't scaffolded for that learning curve, then you will want to use something that's very common for everybody. So I could have people go into Photoshop and make a cool flyer or something for a project, but it might make more sense for me to have them make that flyer in PowerPoint or in Google.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So that's an example of like, you know, not to sing in the chaos. You want it to be simple. You also want it to use resources that are commonly known as well. And then
Okay.
like a new suggestion would be like the it would be nice kind of suggestion. Like, oh, it would be nice if you know, we could integrate mural into brainstorming for papers, and students could brainstorm papers together in community, because that was a big problem that we also identified. So those are some examples of what solutions versus suggestions.
Okay, so to make sure, just to replay, a solution is something that's
It's kind of already out there. Like it's something that's out there that
Mm.
doesn't require a whole lot of effort.
okay. So it's
And,
low effort.
mhm. And then a suggestion, like if we were a university doing this, a suggestion would be, hey, it would be nice if professors could do it this way. Like, you know, in that room, we may not have complete control over what professors do or complete control over what, how learning remotely works, but we could imagine something better.
Okay.
And so while y'all are coming up with those ideas, I just want to run through some interesting points of research about learning and memory that I think connect to why we're struggling so much in this remote world.
So,
So,
and to make sure we're clear, for the group here, like Linda and Ellen and Doug and Ingmar, they are going to be spending the next few minutes
brain,
generating these solutions and suggestions. Is
right.
that right? Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
So while y'all are doing that, so the unconscious mind learns better than the conscious mind, and this is just getting to the idea of like our focused mind and our what they call the diffuse mind, which means that when you have that epiphany right after you wake up, or right after you come from you're on vacation and you're like, oh, okay, I want to write a piece about this. Those moments happen because you put your mind in a state of rest. And I think what we do and what we fall into, if we procrastinate and we cram, we're usually using our focus mode to solve problems. And we procrastinate because we fear what might happen when we like look at a problem. We fear the stress. And so we kind of stress without knowing clearly what's going on, which actually induces a lot more stress. And so if you look at the problem, fully understand it, and walk away from it, you learn a lot better. The brain is a pattern recognition machine. So you got to find the cadence and the patterns that your brain is working with, especially online, because if you come to a cross way in the road and you see a yellow car pass by, your brain is so powerful that it can literally map that to another time that that rare occurrence has happened, and you can pull out, and an accident could happen. And a lot of people that get into car accidents will say, I didn't see the car coming. And sometimes that can be very, very true. Short-term memory holds about 7 pieces of information at a time, but only for 20 seconds. And so what's happening there is our brain is finding what's important and what's not important. A lot of times
Hey,
the advice, oh, go ahead.
Will, quick question. So, I think I'm seeing people like in our group adding some ideas in here, which is awesome. I think there's some questions around, and could you help clarify again, like the solutions
Yeah.
versus suggestions? Because I think even like I want to make sure I completely understand like the difference between the two.
So out of the box solution is like something that exists in the world already that we can
Okay.
use to solve the problem. So for our challenge here, how can we best enable engagement and participation without descending into chaos? So my thought was that you would need something that's pretty simple. So you probably won't want to use like a new software or a completely new methodology, but you can use something like, let's do group work in Google Slides.
Okay.
A lot of us are familiar with the Google Suite, like let's do that in Google Slides. And then a suggestion is, it would be nice if people could get training on Photoshop, or something that's new, that's not connected to people's common understanding, or something like redesigning the entire learning space remotely. So something that's like out there, that's super innovative that we haven't thought about, something that's new.
Okay. So it's kind of like, I feel like moonshot, it's innovative, never done before.
Right. So like the cure COVID can be on a green post-it because, you know, that's something that we haven't done before.
Nice.
That's super innovative. Standardized tools in use. Easy shared drive for sharing info and teamwork. Use primer like the one in Mural. Use tools that the students already know, well, to reduce the learning curve. That's a good example of a purple post-it. Distribute pre-session questions, ideas, images to bring add to the meeting. Require, one interesting thing about learning is it's a lot of it is attention based. And so what ends up happening is, there's been quite a few studies done where participants watch silent videos of somebody giving instruction, and then they evaluate the efficacy of that lesson, and they're pretty accurate when they compare those to the evaluations that students who were actually in the class had. Those evaluations are pretty accurate, and they're only watching like a 2-minute snippet with no sound. And so attention is a big factor in learning because it helps our brain understand what we need to encode. And so a lot of these ideas are specifically talking about that, like how do you make it more engaging, social hour, doing a game together.
Nice.
Requiring camera to be on. We talked about the emotional connection with people. And so, requiring the camera to be on is an out of the box solution. And then maybe a green post-it could be something like,
We have smell-o-vision.
yeah, how can we update softwares to engage more senses or minimize background noise and.
Nice. So I want to be mindful of everyone's time. We have about 3 minutes left in our session today. And first of all, deeply appreciate, Will, having you on this session with us today to kind of have us come together and explore learning and memory and knowledge retention. So I deeply appreciate that. And then Linda and Ingmar and Ellen and Doug, for you guys jumping in here. I know some of you are new to Mural, so I appreciate you asking these questions and showing us ways that we can guide people and teach people how to use Mural as part of our sessions. So I'm gonna just go ahead and throw some confetti in here. And Ingmar, the confetti is a facilitation superpower, actually. You can put it, so if you hover over your avatar, if you are a facilitator in the Mural, so I have that little star icon here, you can celebrate is the name of the feature. Thank you guys so much again. Really appreciate you joining us today, and have a wonderful weekend, everyone.